We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Hello, Mavs fans. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. It is 9:40 p.m. on Friday, November 8th. You're joined by Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe. We are both editors at MavsMoneyball.com. Thank you so much for waiting post-game to go live with us. Life happens, and this isn't our real job, so shit happens, and you guys had to wait for us. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. You're not okay.
I'm fucking angry.
You're not okay. Tell me why you're angry. Tell me why you're angry.
So if we're going to be real, the Mavericks shouldn't have been in a position to lose on a free throw to big dumb fuck Yusuf Nurkic on a free throw for a phantom foul that didn't happen after they committed an offensive foul. The Mavericks shouldn't have been in that position. We can talk about that, but I want to go backwards. First and foremost, fuck you, Tony Brothers. Cancel me, throw me off any sort of NBA, whatever. I don't care. This is bullshit. We all watch the same game. What the fuck is the point of going to Secaucus for some bullshit replay if you're going to watch the replay only for Daniel Gafford to go flying and then commit a phantom foul? Fuck you, NBA. That's my first starting point. The Mavericks lost 114 to 113 because of a phantom foul. A phantom foul that did not happen, followed by a replay where they ignored an offensive foul. I don't have replay if you're going to get it wrong. We all have eyes. Like, go fuck yourself. I have other shit to do. No wonder nobody's watching this bullshit product.
Woo!
I'm tired of this, man.
I know.
3 fouls for Luka, or 3 free throws for Luka, 3 free throws for Kyrie Irving, who was attacking the rim. I'm sorry, Kyrie had 9 free throws. Excuse me. At least Kyrie was actually getting to go to the line, but it's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I don't want to fight
Tony
with you.
Tony Brothers sucks, and he has Tony Brothers is the same way. Who was the ref that we figured out in the 2011 finals? Quite literally had a vendetta against the Mavericks.
You mean in 2011 or 2006?
2011, because Mark Cuban complained and he didn't appear on another Mavericks
playoff game. I can't remember.
I'm gonna Google this.
Joey Crawford? No, he was already. I think he was already out of the. I think he'd already retired by then.
Go ahead.
I can't remember.
Danny Crawford.
Danny Crawford.
Danny Crawford. They lost like every single game Danny Crawford refereed. It's the same shit with Tony Brothers. You watch that big dumb idiot go to the line and be like, here's what actually happened. He didn't get stabbed. He walked into the knife himself, is what Tony would do on every replay. He sucks.
I will say two things because I don't want to harsh your
I know
rage
they
right
lost
now.
for other reasons.
No,
It's just,
I'm
don't
not
give
even
me-
talking about that. I will say, even if I don't feel as passionately about the calls at the end, I am pissed off that this is the first thing that we have to talk about.
Yes.
I'm tired of these kind of conversations. We do not stay up and get on the internet and talk to people or write so that we can talk about the litigation of NBA officiating. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to know who Tony Brothers is. I don't want to know the name of any ref. I know more names of refs than certain names of players at this point.
I can't remember my children's names, but I can tell you Tony Brothers and the same cadre of morons who do the Scott what's his name? There's just like not like all these dumb shit names because they suck.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about this. We're going to talk. This is going to dominate our conversation. It has nothing to do with the actual game. It gets away from talking about plays, moments, analysis, because there's no analysis to reffing. It's just like that sucked, or someone's like, I disagree. That didn't, like it sucks. It takes the fun out of what we do. It takes the fun out of fans watching. And even as someone who is not as fired up about that call, because watching on the replay, it actually kind of looked like Kyrie might have gotten him.
Yeah. Like at least called the foul on the right guy. So if that's what we're talking about, Kyrie fouled Yusuf. Yeah, for sure.
But also, you cannot deny that Royce O'Neal put two hands in Gafford's back and extended his arms. I personally think Gafford might have embellished that a little bit too much, unless Royce O'Neal is really strong.
Sure.
But he did it. Like, he still, you can't put two hands on a player's back in rebounding position. That's an automatic. That's a foul. You can't do that. You can't put two hands on anyone. Remember, that's like the rule, right? You can't do that. So even if it's just, I just didn't want to talk. I was praying that Nurkic was going to miss both of those.
I wanted to talk about something else because the Mavericks, and we're going to talk about something else. I got this out of my system.
It was an interesting game. And the fourth quarter was awesome. It was Kyrie and
the second half was awesome.
Dueling. Yeah, second half was awesome. The dueling at the end between KD and Kyrie.
So good, man.
Yeah. That's what it's all about. That's what I want. I was looking forward to talk about that because I felt like that's how this game was going to end, with one of these stars. There's so many stars in this game. Booker, Beal.
Oh no! Let's kind of wind it back. The first half, in summary, was
awful.
Awful. And let's be clear here. Let's be clear because there was a really good comment. Let me scroll up, see what it was. Where was it? It was from. I just really like this. Austin Vasquez says, "Why can't we just credit the Suns for being the better team for once? We're acting like Luka." Delightful burn, Austin.
It is good.
Really, really enjoy.
But also, you aren't paid almost $300 million to podcast.
I know,
but that was good.
Being lit on fire like this is fun. You have to lean into it to a certain degree.
One.
The first half by the Mavericks was so bad. Bad.
That offense was dog water.
Like Luka, look, friend of the show, Luka Doncic. I love you. You are my second or third favorite player all the time. I beg you to attack the fucking rim. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. He got a little bit better in the second half, but the first half was they're trying to wean themselves off of Luka ball. Like, his touches are down,
way down.
His usage is down. All of his usage numbers are the lowest it's been since his rookie season, which I think is ultimately a good thing because they cannot. I talked about this before. They're not going to win an NBA championship if Luka has a 38 usage rate. Yep. In the playoffs.
How is his usage still so high while his touches are way down? What the fuck?
That's just because there's so many possessions in a basketball game. I'm assuming that's how it, I don't know how it works but it is still low relatively. I mean, their usage rate is high across the board compared to what it was back in the day, I feel like. So there's going to be some growing pains, I feel like, with that. Like, there's some understandable, like, hey, they are totally trying a different thing. They're trying to wean themselves off of Luka having to do everything for everyone. They have Clay. They're trying to integrate him. That's another person who, even though he's not a high usage player, he still is someone who needs to be highly involved. But right now it's very there are just so many uninspiring possessions. It would be one thing if they were trying to wean themselves off of, Luka dominant basketball, and they're like doing stuff and like missing shot, but they will just go possessions where Luka will pass the ball and just not do anything, and no one else does anything, and they kind of meander and then take a pull-up shot. They take a bad shot. They take a late shot clock shot. That happens so much in the first half. And then the other part of it was the turnovers. The turnovers were terrible. They had 8 first half turnovers, which is, sometimes I think for the season, they average like somewhere between 10 and 12 a game. So they almost matched their total in the first half. They had 5 in the first quarter. And Luka was it wasn't just Luka. I think Kyrie had a couple of turnovers. Luka had 3. I think Luka had 2 in the first half. Luka cleaned it up.
Really cleaned it up. Second half was tight.
Yeah, they were very indecisive in the pick and roll in the first half. There was a lot of prodding into the paint and then kind of not knowing what to do.
Oh, they're getting this
and the wild pass outs that are leading into turnovers.
I love that you brought this up because I'm currently arguing with somebody in the chat because I can't help myself. Shout out Jean Paul. The Mavericks are very good shooters. Luka needs to go back to his floater game. He will not take floaters right now.
He did in the second half.
Okay, but he did in the first half.
No, I know.
And that's all. Not all.
He only had one shot in the restricted area tonight.
Yes.
He was 4 of 9 in the paint outside of it. And I want to say, let me see how many of those. 7 of those 9 attempts, Kirk, were in the second half.
Okay.
Of the paint.
And this shots. So when people are like, Kirk, you're wrong for the Mavericks Luka not attacking. Here's the thing. I'm not wrong. I'm right. And Luka is amazing and just needs to actually be amazing. Like, that's all I'm really asking for is for the MVP caliber player to play like an MVP. And he just hasn't done it yet for a whole game against a good team. Now, you're looking at me and you're going, Kirk, you're an asshole. How dare you be mean to the prince who was promised? He'll be fine, but he's not going to win MVP this year. And the Mavericks aren't going to be very good if they keep playing 500 basketball.
Yeah, they need to figure this out. It doesn't help with PJ Washington and Derek Lively out. I know PJ's not great on offense, but Lively, we both agree Lively has been a really good player on both ends of the floor. So that's not helping. And then what helps is Najee comes in and Gafford plays more and they give you good minutes, but then it's like the bench, which we can get into later.
We're going to have
bench.
Like,
the bench was so bad.
The bench element. When I prioritize this stuff, just so everybody understands what I'm thinking, I don't disagree with you on any of these points on what the Mavericks need to do better. It's more of when I determine hierarchy of frustration, I lay I lay a lot of this at the people who are higher up the Mavericks totem pole. It's just the way it works. That's for me. Now, if you disagree with me, you probably have a pretty valid case. Like GB pointing out that Royce O'Neal outscoring the entire bench. Big problem. But now why is that? 2 of the Mavericks' 5 starters are out. So guys that would be on the bench are starting. Not Najee Marshall. Did he finish with 18?
18 points, and that's normally your.
And he should have played the fourth. He should have closed. Everybody, we'll talk about that shortly. But it's that's 18 points off the bench versus that sort of thing. So,
yeah, and Luka, it's just he had 2 great games in a row, and I know the Pacers game people are gonna not agree because he shot 37% from the field, but for me, it's the passing. And He averaged 6 assists in October in the 5 games they played in October. And then he's come out in November. He had the 15 assist game against Indiana, 13 against the Bulls. Well, lo and behold, those are the 2 games that 2 of the Mavericks' best offensive games of the season. And then he had 7 assists tonight, kind of fell back a little bit. The assisters aren't there because teams are not doubling him in a way that they used to. They're not blitzing him. They're either playing kind of drop coverage in the pick and roll or they're switching, which they're daring him to shoot more. which means he needs to be more efficient in the paint because he's not right now. He's shooting like 40% in the paint outside the restricted area. That's not good. He's not getting calls, which also, isn't good as well. He's not getting the free throw line as much as he used to. It's early. All of this is early. He was hitting threes pretty well tonight. He was, this was a weird game. He had five 3-pointers. He was 5 of 12 from 3. So what would that make him from 2? He was 13. So he was 6 of 13, I think, from 2. Like, he hasn't been efficient from 2 like he normally is. And I think part of that is, no training camp, preseason injury, no preseason. I think part of it is the way teams are guarding him, and they're kind of like daring him to beat him with tough contested one-on-one shots, which Luka normally makes those. He makes a lot of those. But you
want to say normally? He's not made them.
I'm saying like past seasons. Yeah, this season he's not. Last season he was great at those shots, and the season before. He's been normally very good on 2s. Like, he just hasn't been good at 2s. And personally, it feels like he's missing like a burst like that he normally has. And I know people get really annoyed about this talking point. But and I'm not even trying to say like this is not like an out of he's grabbing at his groin in this game. He's grabbing at his knee. I just don't know.
I don't know how to deal with that. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. And
he was talking about
hurt.
it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get cut off by any pro Luka videotapers, but it's just like
he feels like he's missing a step, right? Like, he doesn't seem like him all the way with the way he finishes on 2s. Like, I don't know how else to say it. And they could maybe do. I wish they would do some easier things to get him some easier shots. They do a little bit for 3s. He took a couple of a good catch and shoot 3s and some transition 3s.
Couple of them might have gone down. Like, somebody pointed out
great.
earlier, I didn't like the Luka 3 when they were up 2, but that was off the catch.
Yeah, it was nice. And when the step back, hold on to the ball.
It was a pretty shot.
Yeah. He did. It just feels like he's missing a step on his 2s. I want them to do more dribble handoff, but when Lively's out, I don't know if they trust it, running it that much more. But yeah, he sets the tone, and body language wasn't great in the first half. Not trying to be armchair psychologist, but just wasn't great. But again, second half was much better. I think the whole team's second half was much better. I mean, it was really a tale of 2 halves. And again, they're missing 2 of their 6 best players. So that just makes everything else harder. So I don't know what to lean in on. We're 9 games in. About 20 is when you could start looking at things and being like, okay, this is a trend. So I want to give Luka to game 20 before we're like, this is a problem. But I'm just observing, like, this is just what's happening. He hasn't been efficient from 2. Like, no one can deny that. What the reason for it is, we can debate. Is it how teams are guarding him? I think so. Is it because he didn't have a training camp because he was injured for the entire preseason? I think that's part of it. Like, it's just it's a lot right now to decipher, and we've only got 9.
Sorry, hold on. I don't like over-indexing the chat, but this is the dumbest shit comment we've ever got. Luka Doncic is a one-trick pony. If it's not spread, pick and roll, Luka Doncic is useless. Thank you, my friend, for being the dumbest person to make the dumbest comment between 1,200 podcasts. Thank you so much for that. I really it's a high bar to pass. I say dumb shit all the time. Respect. Back to the show.
Okay. Yeah, but you know what? Something I did like in the second half is I think they let Kyrie kind of cook a little bit more.
Man, how
he had a great game.
Good is he outside of he just had a backbreaking series of plays in the final 2 minutes after being amazing.
Yeah, that turnover was tough.
That was a horrendous turnover.
Not a good turnover.
What are you doing, Broseph?
I know. And then what? Like the last 6 plays he made before that, he was like perfect. I thought the one thing I will say is, even with Luka's struggles, I think they're trying to do something that he hasn't done, and it's gonna look kind of gross at times. And obviously it looked gross in the first half. I commend Luka and the team for doing it, because I think this is ultimately going to be better. It's kind of like things are going to get worse before they get better. I think that's what it's going to be here. But like, I loved in the third quarter and moments of the fourth, Luka was just like, yeah, let Kyrie bring the ball up. Yeah, let Kyrie run pick and roll and get in the offense and get him some shots. Like, they are going to come out of this being a better team. I feel when they get this figured out, where they can get this usage and touch thing in line and they can feel comfortable. And Luka looks more like Luka because he just doesn't look like last season Luka or the year before that Luka. Like, he just doesn't look like himself all the way. You see glimpses, of course, like the incredible fast break, two-handed bounce pass.
God, how cool is that?
Yeah, like, so it's still
so
there.
Cool.
Yeah, like, so that's why I'm not like overtly concerned. You know, honestly, if he's really hurt, they might need to sit him. Like, can they sit him a couple of games? But then we're at the point now where it feels like he gets hurt every 3 or 4 games. Like, he's got a new lower body injury, and it's like, you can't really load manage that. Like, he's got to play. He played 42 minutes tonight, so we'll see how he feels before the next game. I believe they play Golden State next, who got mollywopped tonight, so they're going to be.
Did they really?
Yeah, they were down by like 30 to the Cleveland. Yeah, they lost
Cleveland
136 to 117. So Golden State's going to be pissed off for that next game, and they're going to want to play better. So they're going to get Golden State's potentially best shot. So we'll see how Luka feels, but
jeez, yeah, 136 to 117. My God.
They kicked the shit out of it. And that score, like, they were up like 108-74 at one point in the second half. Like, so that score is a little misleading. So Golden State's licking their wounds. They're going to want to play much better when they play the Mavs next. But yeah, I don't want to harp on Luka too much, but like, he needs to shoot better, and we can get into. I think there's like 8 more talking points we can get to about this game too.
There were so again. I try to measure myself because I don't like it. Like, I'm not attempting to be mean to Luka for the sake of it. He has been in the second half. He was so much fun. He was also pretty good on defense. He guarded Nurkic. He guarded Devin Booker. He guarded Kevin Durant.
Who?
He gets asked to do a whole lot.
Luka?
Okay. Right? Yeah,
Luka. Yeah, he
Luka.
did. He guarded a bunch of different. Yeah, they switched him across everyone. The Suns were trying to get him, like, the Suns did the thing a lot of teams do where they take whoever Luka's guarding instead of screening on the ball to try to force a switch. And I thought Luka held up okay at certain points. So yeah, they do. Yeah, they do ask him to do a lot, which is why I think both of us agree that the way that they're trying to lessen his offensive load will help, because then theoretically he can have more energy to play on the defensive end. He can do some other stuff, but yeah, there's growing pains for sure. Like, it just doesn't look right. And I think it's because they're trying new stuff.
There were plays in the first half where Luka flat out gives up on defense. And like, the Suns hit a lot of open threes in the first half. They also had some parades to the rim. And the Mavericks bad offense did not help that. Oh my God! Yes,
those turnovers led directly. Like, the Suns had 13 points off turnovers in the first.
We gotta circle back to this. We need to take a break real quick, but I want to circle back to the really awful lineups Jason Kidd was putting out there. Like, Homie the Clown is up there yelling and cursing like I am, but you know what? He's the coach of the league. I'm a podcaster on a fan-based podcast. He needs to lighten up. Okay, so guys, we're 20 minutes into this. Josh and I typically try to spend 30 minutes on a post-game show. Then I'm going to do a secondary show because I'm fired up as hell. It's going to be group therapy. Come hang out with us. Stay around. Come up here and tell me to pound sand the way a couple of you clearly want to. I love arguing about sports. I don't actually take anything personally. I have 2 small children and a wife who is tired of my bullshit. So my ability to get yelled at is high. So please, let's talk a little bit about basketball. If you are joining the show and you've never participated before, it's a lot of fun. Please consider joining this or subscribing to our show. We're up to 3,370 plus followers. We're up. I would like to get to 5,000 by the end of the year, just for fun. Josh and I are very close to getting a sponsor for the podcast. Isn't that fun, guys? And then if you're listening on an audio stream, please go ahead and subscribe and leave us a review. Grateful for all the reviews, even the ones that hate me. Nobody hates Josh. Like, Josh could run for office on a unifying ticket.
People hate me.
Josh is the nation's great healer. And then if you're watching on the video a little bit later, leave us a comment. I cannot tell you, the comments just, they make me happy. Even the ones that are mad. I love them. Okay, so we're going to come back here in just a few minutes. Thank you so much for hanging out. I know you have a lot of options here with Mavs post-game show. Shout out to DLLS for attempting to take our thunder. You guys can enjoy Tim Cato watching with crossed legs. And nobody bitch at him about that. Tim is our friend. He's also our former boss. So Josh and I will be right back. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Bombas presents unsolicited gifting advice. Number 1, if they say not to get them anything, get them something. 2, underwear is a great gift, just not for your boss. And 3, those absurdly soft Bombas socks and slippers you've been eyeing for yourself, they'll love those. And the fact that for every item you purchase, another is donated to someone who needs it, they'll love that even more.
Go to bombas.com/Spotify and use code Spotify for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com/Spotify, code Spotify.
All right, I'm going to insert some ads there for anybody listening on the video stream that is like, why did Kirk stop talking? Okay, so understanding I joined this show mad as hell about the refs. I am not a moron in every way. I understand that how the Mavericks played in the first half were arguably way more important to the Mavericks finishing down a point and really being in the position where they were. How do we talk about what things should we focus on? Because the third quarter run where the Mavericks got back in it after being down, I think it was 63-50 at halftime, was so important only for Jason Kidd to put in Kessler Edwards, my Pepperdine guy, at a key point in the game. And Kessler Edwards might have shown why he's not an NBA player. Like, that was brutal. What do you think? Because in 2 minutes, he was a -4 in a 1-point game.
Yeah, it was very weird because he's a two-way guy. He hasn't really played at all this season except for blowouts, garbage time. So for his first non-garbage time minutes to be high leverage moment in a close game against a Western Conference contender in the second half was very bizarre time to dust him off.
Like, why? It feels so bad. It's so mean to him.
I know. I'm trying to get in the head of it. The only thing I can think of is the bench gave them absolutely nothing in the first half. Mm-hmm. And the only thing I can think of is maybe he has had some good practice moments and Kid was like, fuck it, I'm going to give this guy a shot because no one else is doing anything. Like, maybe in the locker room, he was like, hey, if you guys want to play, I need you guys to start doing something or I'm going to play someone else. And maybe that's what he did. I don't necessarily blame him for that thought process because I get it because the bench was very, 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 very bad in the first half. But it did not work. That -4 in 2 minutes was very much earned. He had a turnover when Luka got him the ball in the corner, which he should have just shot a 3 immediately and instead shuffled his feet. And then he missed a wide open corner 3, and then that was it. And I think when he came in, they were up like 78-71, and then that lead was pretty much gone when he checked out. Not good. Goes to show, and like it's what you said before we took the break. Like, I saw some people like, what happened to this great Mavs depth, that everyone's telling me about? I'm like, they're missing 3 of their best 8 players. No Exum, maybe more, 4. No Maxey, no Exum, no Lively, no PJ Washington. Those guys are healthy. All 4 of them are in the rotation. So you move Najee to the starting lineup. You have to play Daniel Gafford a little more. Now Dwight Powell's in the game, who actually played an inspiring second half, I thought, after getting his ass whipped in the first half. And then you got to roll through these other guys. Like Omax Prosper got a try in the first half. He looked terrible. Grimes played 9 minutes and was okay. Had, better in the second half than he was the first. Mm-hmm. Jaden Hardy got 3 minutes, and it was very short hooks. Like Kid was very much like, what are you going to show me? And he did not waste a lot of time in mixing and matching. I mean, I don't know if that's good because, you like saw somewhere like, like someone is like, why isn't Grimes playing more? And it's like, well, he's got to do more when he's on the floor. And it's like, if a guy checks into a game and plays 6 minutes, like, and then gets yanked without doing anything on the stat sheet, like, I don't know. Like, you got to play. You got to get into a rhythm. Like, you got to give these guys a little bit more rope.
This is a key point. And Jean Paul in the chat is kind of asking continuously. He's asked this like 4 times, and I don't mind it because he's right.
No, we got to.
Why is Spencer Dinwiddie in the game instead of Najee Marshall? The Najee Marshall part is kind of one question, but the Spencer Dinwiddie part is a bigger question because kid roasted Quentin Grimes. Post game, he says, quote, he's got to make a shot. He's just got to relax, understanding we're missing layups. We're doing stupid stuff right now, and that tends to happen during the season. So we're not going to happen over that, but we're not going to panic over that, but he's not a plus. Here's the thing, Jason. He was 1 of 1. He made his one shot. He was a -1 in 9 minutes. But you play Spencer Dinwiddie for 28, who derps around and like what? Look, like misinformation exists. Everybody sees things differently. Sometimes it's interpretations. Sometimes it's just a thing. It's like you can't look at what happened during that game and have like I want Grimes to be on the team, and I feel like there's a conspiracy right now to make sure this guy doesn't want to stay.
Is Grimes your Nerlens Noel? Like
no,
Nerlens was for me?
No, because I don't want to care enough about Grimes. But it's like, let's not act like the 9 minutes deserves him being called out for missing shots when, and this is a key point, he didn't miss shots.
I know. And it's tough because theoretically you need him, especially in a game like this where you've got the Suns have Booker and Beal, and they've just, even Durant, like they've got these perimeter scorers that are so good. And the Mavericks defense was its most compromised with giving up dribble penetration. The Suns they were 14 of 18 in the restricted area. 18 attempts isn't a lot, but 77% shooting when you get there is really good. And they also shot 9 corner threes, and they made 6 of them. And how do you get open corner threes? Dribble penetration. So that was a problem for the team for most of the night. I actually thought the half-court offense held up pretty well considering the offense gave them nothing in the first half and the turnovers. I thought when the Mavericks offense was better and the defense got set in the half-court, the Mavericks defense was better. But they were also struggling with dribble penetration for most of the game. Devin Booker had 12 assists. Tyus Jones had 5 assists. And then both of those guys scored a double figures. Like, the Suns kind of got to the rim and got to their spots in the paint a little too freely, too little unimpeded. And you would presume that Grimes is a guy that can be on the floor to help counteract that a little bit. And he only played 9 minutes. I can't tell you right now how good his defense was in those 9 minutes. I cannot say whether he played great enough defense to earn more time, but you got to maybe play it out a little bit more and figure it out. And even if it's not Grimes, like, why Dinwiddie? Like, I do not understand Dinwiddie over Marshall. Marshall was having a great game. He had 18 points. He was 7 of 12.
He was really good, man. He looks like a starter in those. I mean, I know he's -7 in 29 minutes, but every Maverick, Kyrie and Clay were the only Mavericks that finished with plus.
Yeah, you wanted some more
in a 1-point game. Think about, I guess Prosper was a +1, but Prosper, I want to eject directly into space and never see him again.
I know. And then just with the way the Suns close, they close with Booker, Beal, Nurkic, Durant, and O'Neal. Like, Dinwiddie, and then you're closing opposite that with Luka, Kyrie, Clay, and Dinwiddie. How many plus defenders are in that foursome? Like, you need another guy in there you need Najee, like you need a player like Najee, and maybe Kid felt like his defense wasn't good enough. Durant had a great shooting game. He was 8 of 14, 3 of 6 from 3. I mean, every Sun had a pretty good shooting game except for Booker, funny enough. So I don't know if he saw something with Dinwiddie in terms of his defense, but I thought it was very bizarre.
Hold on. That whole sentence is incompatible. I don't know if he saw something with Spencer Dinwiddie in terms of his defense.
I don't know.
Dinwiddie?
I know.
It's 2024.
I know.
Well, and so like I briefly roasted Omax. I just want to point this out. If he took one shot and it was a right-handed layup where someone, probably I think it was either Gafford or Powell, set a Gortat screen where he had a free run at the rim and the man rocketed it off the backboard. Like it's the kind of miss that you see children make. Like
it was one of those plays because you were like so great to see him. You're like, oh, got to the rim.
Oh my God, no.
You're so proud of him for getting to the basket, and then that happened. But yeah, I don't understand. Maybe kid was looking at the plus minus. You know, Najee had.
Well, you got to play somebody. Like that's part of it. Like they played 7 guys over 20 minutes, and then they played 4 guys spurts. Grimes is the one who we are he has a case of the ass for Grimes, like he did Christian Wood, and we're not understanding why, which is entirely possible. There might be something you and I aren't seeing. Like we're not NBA guys.
And we're not in the locker room. We're not at practice.
Right. So there's something entire, but it's like everybody else, you know, you got Kessler, you got Omax, you got Hardy that played, each one of those guys played less than 3 minutes. So like they were not
like, what's the point?
Yeah. They were not the different, like, it's like they're just spelling guys for a moment. It's just like, I'm trying to sit here and I'm looking at the plus minus. The Mavericks lost by 1 and everybody but Kyrie and Clay were negative. I guess you count Prosper.
Yeah, Kyrie was great.
Kyrie was unbelievable.
Yeah, I know.
And I feel, and again, so we're going to close up here because like we could just kind of keep talking about this.
I don't know. Do you want to talk about can we talk about the last play?
Oh yeah. Let's go ahead.
How I understand.
I'm not mad at it.
You're not mad.
There's 0.8 seconds. You get 0.4 seconds to get a shot off. If there's any kind of contest, it's really difficult.
I know, but from half court, like your out of bounds play is a half court heave from Luka for the most part. Like you can't get a little closer to the basket. I know there's 0.8, so you can't gather, you can't drive.
You can't do anything. Like if there's a pump, you're done.
I know, but like when he caught it, it was like, oh, okay, game's over. Like, yeah, I feel like you got to get something a little closer to the basket.
That part I think is fair. I'm just,
but you're right too. No, you're absolutely right.
Any kind of pump fake, the game's over.
Right, can't drive. I know.
Like, and for those of you,
could he have caught it like 5 feet closer to the rim? Like
Prince Singh asks a good question. Like, why can't you pass to Clay? Why can't you do something else? Spaceman says it's always the same play. Blah blah blah. Here's why, guys, and I'll just explain. I was around for the interpretation of and let's just be clear here because fuck the Lakers. Garbage. Derek Fisher game winner over Tim Duncan after Tim Duncan had hit a game winner where the referees determined, and this was like precedent setting, 0.4 seconds to get a shot off. If you do anything other than shoot the ball immediately with less than a second, the game's over. Because they will look at the replay and they'll determine the balls on your fingers. So it's like Josh's point about, okay, it needs to be closer, I think is something like, why can't you do something else?
Yeah. And I think I saw someone like, why don't you go to Clay? They did. I think Clay was the first option on that play and he was covered. So yeah. They ran him off a screen across. Now he was kind of going away from the basket from the inbounder, which is not great. Like that makes that pass a lot harder to try to throw it over the top of the defense when he's getting screened. He started close to the inbounder, like baseline or under the basket, and kind of came towards and then curled around and out. And once he curled around, like, you know, they're not going to lob that up to him because the ball gets tipped at all. The game's over. So I think Clay was the first option, but he wasn't open. And yeah, so that's where that is. But you know what? It's funny that we're so like this. They missed their like PJ and Lively are very important to this team's success, and they went toe to toe with one of the best. You know, Phoenix is playing like one of the best teams in the Western Conference. Like in the aggregate, this is not a terrible result, but they're definitely frustrated. I understand all the frustrating moments inside of it.
I wish
it's not getting easier. You know,
I wish we could talk about Kevin Durant more, but this is a Maverick show. I will simply say that I am in awe of how good he is at basketball still.
Yeah, he's great.
Like the crossover is so funny. Watching somebody else try to guard the crossover for a 7 foot tall guy who goes arm to arm. It's not a carry, but the ball must travel 7 feet, like from point to point. And it's just so fun.
I kind of forget how long he's been in the league with watching it. Like just like LeBron, I just forget. Like I think he came out. I mean, we were almost in the same graduating class of high school.
LeBron was 03. He was 07.
I graduated high school in 2007.
Mm-hmm. He's 36 years old.
Yeah.
He's had an Achilles tear. Like that's actually the part that we don't talk about.
Yeah, he hasn't slowed down at all.
Lives.
Yeah.
It's so good. He's so good. God, I hate being mad at him. We got 3 people I want to shout out. Leo Klopper. Thank you so much for the super chat. Doug23 says, welcome back, Angry Kirk. This is for your cool off beer. And appear now, appear later says, right there with you, Kirk. Thanks for being there with us. All right, guys. So Josh is going to go do some editing. I'm going to stay here and host the secondary show. Please continue to hang out with us. Let's try to get, 20, 25 minutes on the second show. We got Brian already waiting in the chat to talk. There's a link, what do you call it? A StreamYard link, which you can join from your phone. You don't got to show your face, though I do like talking to people. You can join via computer. We're going to talk a little Mavs stuff, and then we're going to go to bed. And then the last thing is the Mavericks play, they play Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. They play a lot of basketball again. November is a heavy month, which is, and I'm not talked about this quite enough, but part of why I get so steamed about these games is you just have to rack up wins at some point, and the team is 5-4. They have to be better than this.
We kept talking about get off to the good start.
And they haven't gotten off to a good start as a team. Yeah. Okay, thanks so much for hanging out. Kirk and Josh here at Pod Maverick After Dark. Everybody be good. We will be back in just a few seconds. Thanks so much for hanging out, Josh, and we will talk soon. Go Mavs.